This is us doing an intro.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to Ask the Accountant Watch series. We are doing a brand new series. Well, is this brand new series? This could technically be the second one, can't it, of the AI? I know it's the first time me and you've done it, but me and Johan went off and did a little AI update once that's come through. But we want to turn this on its head. We want to do an AI watch series. So clearly we're going to be talking about AI, but we want to keep it practical. We want to talk about the things we're doing in our firm that's got AI goodness on it, not just software, but other solutions and everything else that goes with it. And we thought, how's the best way to tackle it? And obviously, it's got to be doing a podcast. And if I'm going to do a podcast, I need the person who's basically looking to take over my seat, as if you go by the last Ask the Accountant appearance that came through. Hashtag give Tim the job full time was going mega at the time. So Tim, how are you and why are you here?
I'm good. I'm, like everyone, I've been far too hot. And the weather has been painful. I'm incredibly tired. We've had staff holidays, we've had people sick, we've had all sorts going on. But apart from that, I'm fantastic. And I think I would note that the person shouting the loudest for hashtag Tim for host was you. I don't know if it's so much that I'm coming for your seat on the podcast or if you're actively trying to give it up. But I think, the fact that number 200 falls on a bank holiday is not gonna help or advance anyone's prospects. So let's just, let's see how that goes, eh?
Yeah, looking forward to that. I mean, are you going to be involved? Have you decided?
Oh mate, I'll be free. I'm like, let's face it, it's a bank holiday Monday and it'll be the morning. I'll be at work, won't I?
Good.
So, there's stuff to do. So, I'll be in the office on my own. And what else am I possibly going to do in my time other than, join in the almost like podcast marathon almost.
That's what we're going for. Yeah, we're going to be talking top trumps. We're going to be talking all sorts. So yeah, definitely get yourself on there. Let's just do a bit of housekeeping while we're here. We're live to the world. We've chosen 6 o'clock on a Thursday. I'm not sure that's the date that these watch series will continue to go for. Maybe go back to the dinner time slot. We'll try and figure out. We'll try and find a slot that works for you. But obviously, it's evergreen content. You're going to be able to comment down below. If you are in the lurking in there, the 6 or so of you there, then do use the comment section to say hi. And then we'll make sure that we bring your comment on. But the whole point of this is we're going to put these out on a semi-regular basis just to give some updates on how we're using AI, what we're using it for, what good signs we've had, what bad signs we've had. And it wouldn't be a podcast without a controversial start. I say controversial. Tim, just explain what your view on the use of AI is at this point in time, because I feel like you're wanting to say a bit of truth, right? The sort of stuff that we don't want to admit, we don't want to talk about. And hi to the lady bookkeeper who's just said hi in the comments. But there's definitely something you want to get off your chest about AI, isn't it? Go for it.
Yeah, and before I do, I think it's worth really being specific about the date that we're initially having this conversation. It's 20th of August 2026.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm saying that is that if you go back and listen to the last 6 months worth of Ask the Accountant even and other podcasts in the sector,
yeah,
everything is changing so fast at the moment. And there's an analogy to that I always find quite interesting, which is back in the early 2000s when I was first, in the workforce. Brilliant. I put the phone on silent and it didn't work. We could
have had a live you answering and dealing with a client query.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've not got AI looking after your telephones then? Like we've got to
I will
tick that box. Whoever's doing the AI bingo out there.
Mate, it's because I've got a new phone and I thought I'd put it on silent and I haven't. But look, the reason that I'm mentioning this, back when I was like first at work, it was computing power, right? Computing power approximately doubled every year. right? And that meant that you got, but it was really noticeable because it was doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling every single year. Everything got more powerful. Everything became more impressive. And that obviously slowed, right? And the speed at which things doubled became more incremental and you couldn't really see what was going on. AI is now at the point that we were in 2002, 2003 with just like, what's the latest Pentium? Is it a 3 or is it a 4? Okay. So the reason I mention the date is because if you go back and watch this in 3 months' time, everything may have changed dramatically. And that's why I mention it. So my view on AI at the moment, because I surround myself with a lot of people who are very pro AI and a lot of people who are very anti. And there are some bits of it that I hate. Like I really hate the way that every single pub has got the exact same or had the exact same World Cup posters because they've all done them on like GPT. I think we're using AI for the wrong thing. Okay. The industry is trying to use AI to replace us. It's trying to replace bookkeepers, it's trying to replace accountants, and it's saying, I've built this whole team of agents and I've given them all cutesy little names. Doris does the credit control, and Beryl does the payables, and Ian does the bank recs, and they're all giving them human names, and I find that weird. But they're your agents, call them what you want. But I think what we should be using AI for really is to replace the non-accounting and bookkeeping things that we do all the time. Okay. So that doesn't mean we're replacing all the administrators. That doesn't mean I'm replacing Emma, right? It means that I need to scan this bit of paper in and file it somewhere. How can we use AI to speed that process up and make sure that information is extracted and put in the right places so that when you're searching for stuff, you can find it? Okay. How do we make sure that, how do we check over an incorporation before we file it? How do we do this? Those are the things where we can use AI not to replace people, but to save us time and turn a 1-hour job into a 5-minute job. We're still doing the checking at the end of it, but we're not trying to replace a human with that. So we're having not a second pair of eyes, but a third pair of eyes. Because I tell you what, when you run a draft set of accounts or something through something that's built for it, like Claude or whatever, making sure, of course, Johan's usual caveat, make sure you're subscribed to a plan that does not mean you're breaching GDPR. That's your responsibility, not mine. It will find things that you might have missed and that another human might have missed. Maybe they're inconsequential things, but it's flagging those up, right? So this is what I mean. We're not. I don't think we should be using AI to replace any human beings. We should be using AI to make some of those human beings more efficient and make some of those boring tasks that we do more efficient.
100%.
And the second point of that, which is a much shorter point, which is more what I've been doing, is using AI to do something that I can't do without spending tens of thousands of pounds, which is build internal tools, some of them very, very small, to help me build something that helps me do what I want to do.
I love that. And we're definitely going to go into that second point more detail. But that first point, what I also love about that is it's so much more relatable to clients. Look, if we went to clients and said, oh, by the way, I have just automated all of the bookkeeping, blah, 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 blah. The first question that's going to come out of their mouth is, so what's that going to do to my fee? Because they're going to be fee sensitive, right? Like that's a conversation that's going to come up. But if I go to a client, and a great example is this week, I love my note-taking app. We all have our own, right? I'm using Claude for mine. That's what I record it through. But at the end of every single day, I have to go through the Claude. I mean, it's champagne problems, isn't it? But you go through Claude, you have all your meetings. And we have a policy that all meetings we have with clients, we record it on our practice management solution so that everyone can see it. And we get a nice way of being able to have accountability and all that sort of stuff that comes with it, right? So today, for example, I have had, 6 meetings today. I'm doing a podcast now. I won't be able to even comprehend looking at that until whatever time it's going to be, right? Or I've built this nice little agent that will go in, it talks to Claude, it finds out what's happened, it looks through all the things there, and then it goes into my practice management tool and it will post it there for me. And then what it will do is just ask me, is it happy with these bits, and kind of give me a chance to confirm. So instead of me having to copy, paste, adjust, blah, 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 I'm in a process now of just approving what's come through and moved it there. Now, that's using AI, as you said there, to take away a really boring task that no one benefited from, but I'm able to automate it, make it more simple. Hopefully, it means it's done quicker as well, right? Like you're in a world where you've got real time information because it's happening on a more regular basis. I can't forget, there's all those sort of controls that come in as well. But I think more importantly than anything else, I've already had a conversation with a client about that today because they were talking about their note taker and how they're frustrated with their note taker because it was, they were just going into a void and didn't feel like it was doing anything. But we were having a real in-depth conversation about, well, why are you just pointing into a void? If you're just pointing into a void, how's the rest of your team going to know about that? And I spoke about the fact that we have this practice management solution and everyone has access to it. Surely your CRM solution, oh yeah, my CRM solution has the same sort of thing. And I told them about the fact that you can automate it and bring it all in. Absolutely loved it, right? That's a proper meaningful conversation that they now have even more kind of faith, whatever it is, in me and my firm because we've solved a problem for them. But B, we're building that relationship, right? We're giving them a reason to continue spending the money with us, continue being our client. Do you know what I mean? Like these little things, we're becoming experts in those fields, and that's what accountants and bookkeepers always were, wasn't it? We are problem solvers at the end of the day. Like that's what we're best at. And I feel like this is just an opportunity for us to flex those muscles, show off some of these ideas, and generally it's helping maintain client relationships, maybe even win clients later down the line. Have you had any examples where you've been able to do that with clients?
Well, because of our client base, a lot
Yeah.
of them are obviously hospitality.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that we will talk about regularly on podcasts and, at events and things like that, they maybe don't apply so much to that sector. What has been useful is being able to process their information more quickly, right? So it's their information, okay? And I would make one point about what you just said, which is that by having an AI tool extract all your meeting notes, deal with them and put them into wherever you want to put them, you've had 6 meetings saying you're now doing a podcast, right? And then you might actually be traveling. You might be going home, right? And you might get stuck in a traffic jam. And then you might get home, and then the thing you were going to have this chicken for dinner, but it turns out it's gone off. So you've got to go to the shop and get something else, and and then it gets to like 10:30, and you're off to sleep, and you still haven't done it. And then you're not in the morning because you've got 3 or 4 meetings, and somebody else then doesn't know about your meeting from today because you haven't had a chance to do it yet, right? That happens all the time. That's the sort of thing, especially as a practice owner or a manager of any type, but across all levels of any business. Oh, weirdly, I didn't have time to do that last night because circumstances. Okay. So that means AI is helping us overcome irritating circumstances, right? And they're human factor circumstances that happen. Sometimes you might be late, you might be sick, you might forget. It's stopping that bottleneck. Because otherwise, then someone's calling you in the morning going, oh my God, I really, really, really need your notes from last night about X. And you're like, well, I'm driving right now. I can't send you that for the next hour. I'm really sorry. I'll try and find somewhere to pull over. Oh, I've got no signal. This is all the real world stuff. If you've got something overnight, just going into your Claude account and taking everything and knowing what client it is and posting a summary, even if it doesn't get it 100% right all of the time, that call from your team member then is, Aaron, did you really tell this person that their fee was going up to £1 billion? You're like, no, it's misheard. That was a joke. It's 1,200 quid. Oh, right. Okay. It's minor adjustments that you can verbally tell them. I think this is some of the prime use of this technology. I really do, especially for those who are super, super busy and trying to do 12 things at once.
Exactly. And we're all trying to do it, right? Like we're all trying to build our practice in the best possible way. And we're all under so much pressure from our professional bodies, from our, the government, whatever, whatever reasons and problems and excuses you want to put out there. But we're all in the same boat. We're all super busy. There's so much like red tape for us to do at this point in time, right? We need to have these quick wins. Otherwise, I jokingly opened this conversation with you beforehand, like, asking you, remind me again why we're in practice. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes we need that, don't we? We just need that kick up the backside. We need that reassurance. We need something else. But at the same time, we also just need those quick wins, because otherwise you just don't switch off, do you?
No, never. Nightmare, right?
Yeah. All right, so that's just an example of how we can just use them to be there. And we've got loads more examples, and we'll definitely bring more up, and we'll talk about them. But I do need to move on to that second point you made, because you did a presentation at a recent accountants advisory group over in Sage, and it was an amazing presentation. Like, the idea was you were going to stand up on stage at the front of the room, and you were going to just explain how you've been able to use AI to be able to help you fix some of your clients' biggest issues, right? Like, and find ways to be able to go in there. And I won't steal your thunder on how and why and everything else, but what really kind of struck me on that was it just got my brain back into gear of, oh, I've been wanting to do that for a long time, but I kept putting it off, and I kept doing it anything else. And the reason I'm bringing the story up is because on the way home from that accounting council, so the next day, jumping on a train, I kind of had that kick up the backside to do exactly what you're about to explain and how it's done and everything else. And I went, oh, I've been such a long time that I've been wanting to build this particular product for my practice, which is work papers. Like, I've been looking everywhere for work papers, right? And I was able to, on the train journey home, build the framework for my work papers that we now use in our practice today. And I just needed that one little bit of kick up the arse to go, right, let's actually go ahead and do this. Now, full disclosure, that one train journey was the kind of the framework of it, and most of that framework is still in play now. It took me 3-4 weeks or so after that initial bit of spark to go through the security and setting up like permissions and making sure the users are right and all that sort of stuff. And I have had to also get external help just to make sure that it's definitely, it's client data at the end of the day, right? I want to be responsible and everything else. But that initial train journey home was all it took for me to have that kick up the backside to go, right, let's build it. And now we are in a position where we feel like we're way more in control than we've ever been. We feel like we're able to take on more work. There's all these positives that come with it, and our team are all like energized by this new piece of software that's come in because we've built it to make it easier for them, etc., etc. So I just wanted to give you kind of the starting point of why I think what you're about to say, like explain how and what you've been doing is so impactful, and how honestly anyone out there can do it. Anyone out there can find a solution, find a problem, should I say, find a pain point, and use this technology. Have a play with this technology to see if you can fix it as well, because it generally is changed our practice.
I think that there's obviously a couple of things to just put in at the beginning. Number one is that I am not building any software to sell. Okay.
Yeah,
if you want to build software to sell, you can do it like this, but then you really do need to speak to someone who knows what they're doing to get that production ready. Okay. One of the things that tools like Claude and Lovable are perfect for is prototyping. Okay. And for building internal tools. Now, I also work with, I've got a couple of developers that I know that I do a bit of work with, who before any of this becomes like live and we're actually using it live in our practice, they're gonna give it a once over. They're gonna tell me that it's terrible and that it needs rebuilding, and they're gonna then rebuild it. But there are some things that are so small, and the small bits are the starting point. Okay.
Yeah.
And I also think, look, it will never hurt to just mess around with it and see how you get on. The time that you need to start thinking about proper security and penetration testing and all these things that might sound scary, but you can learn about them quite easily. That's what you do before you put any real client data in something. Okay. Yeah. People say, I'd never build my own tool because I really want to, and I've got this great idea, but I'm really scared that it's going to leak all my clients' information. Great. Put fake client information in them while you're messing around with it, right? I have got a system full of Tim C underscore test 009 10 11 ZZZ ZZZY etc. Right, and actually because I'm actually beyond that now. I've done a lot of that security work and everything, and I have got real client data, which I'm obviously not going to show, but the initial part was just like there's about 700 of me in that system, right? Because you set the email address up with the Tim plus something else at TCS, and that's how you get through that. The other thing that I would say is this ain't a workshop. I'm not teaching you anything on this. I'm giving you an idea basically, and my preferred method of working is that I use Claude and I use Lovable, and I use those together, but I haven't crucially connected them together. And what I do is I spec things out in Claude and I build the prompts in Claude, and then I copy and paste that into Lovable. Lovable does its thing, and then it sends back a response to Claude, and then it helps me interpret that result. That's because I am not a coder, right? I cannot write a line of code. I cannot get to Hello World. I've never been able to. It weirdly just doesn't stick in my brain. That's okay, because now I don't need to, right? And some of this stuff I've been wanting to build for years because it's possibly never going to ever be a commercial product. There are things that I want to do in our practice. I've pre-warned our friend Johan about this. I am building my own practice management software. It's only for me, right? It's only for TCS and 65. I'm never going to sell it. I still think that Engager is one of the best practice management tools on the market. I would still encourage smaller practices, especially, but of any reasonable size, to seriously consider using Engager if they're not currently. Not a paid ad, hashtag not an ad, right? But we have some really, really niche requirements that I would never expect Engager to even entertain the thought of building them in, because it's not commercially viable for them to do so, okay? And I'll give you some examples, but first I want to give you one example of just a really, really super simple thing that I built, okay? And it took, using the methodology of Claude plus Lovable, this took about 15 minutes, okay? So we're going to attempt. I've never screen shared on StreamYard before, so if this goes horribly wrong, then I blame StreamYard, I guess. I mean,
I'm worried about your preferences on things. Normally you have to come in and out, but we'll see how it goes.
We're gonna find out.
It's worked already, by the way.
Oh my goodness, it worked. And hopefully you should see. There you go. Right. Ignore my sidebar. I was getting frustrated when you export nominal account transactions into a CSV from Sage. If I was sensible, I would have had one ready to show you, wouldn't I? If you export nominal transactions, you get formatting, right? You get stuff at the top, you get stuff at the bottom, you get totals, you get all sorts of nonsense that you don't want. Sometimes I want to do other stuff with that data and I need it to be not formatted. And if it's one account, right? If it's just the one, that's absolutely fine. Okay, we can all manage to reformat a download for one account. Yeah. But my problem is that it's never just one account, is it? It's 3 accounts or 5 accounts or 10 accounts. And if I want to format those and then I want to pull them into something else, or I want them to pivot, or whatever I want them to do. Our most common example of this is for the states of Guernsey, for our payroll control accounts. We generally have 3 accounts: ETI payable, employers' social security payable, employees' social security payable. And I want to really easily see all of the transactions for a whole entire year format, what's gone through that. So I made a flat file converter, and all it does is it makes the file that you have exported flat. It can do it with a nominal export, it can do it with a trial balance export. And the way I did this is I went to Claude and I said, I have a file that looks like this, and I showed it the file. And then I manually made a flat file version, and I said, I want you to use Lovable to build me a tool that turns file A.xls into file B.xls. Ask me the questions that you need to ask to find out what you need to know. And it did. It said, okay, see you're a bookkeeping practice. Are these all going to be financial information? Have you considered this? What about this? How do I make it flat? What do you mean when you say flat? What information do you want in there? Do you want any options? Do you want X, Y, Z? Okay. And so it now will do exactly what I want. And that's why it will never be a commercial piece of software and I'll never sell it, because it's doing what I want. And it might be that absolutely nobody needs this, but I can drop a CSV file into this and hit download, and it extracted 901 transactions there in about half a second.
Exactly.
And it produced me a flat file. Okay. And now if I have to change screen share, don't I? That'd be really annoying. It exports the file in a format that I can have multiple accounts over multiple years. And guess what? I can just grab that and pivot table it and do what I want with it.
Love that. Love that.
So it's a great example of something that only took a few minutes. Now in Claude specifically, 1 second, sorry. In Claude specifically, the way I've done that, there is some organization here. Okay. And this is the bit that this is what I really wanted to sort of show a bit on today's episode, right? Is the organization behind it. Okay. Yep. What I've got here is in Claude, I've set up a project to deal with this. Okay. Yep. And in that project, I've got different chats and they work on different things. I also have, and this is super important once you start doing stuff and once you start working with Claude like this, I've got a project overview. I've got a structure document, which is just like, hey, this is what this system does. And then I've got memory. Now, memory is the super, super, super important bit, memory and instructions for anyone who's doing this, to stop Claude trying to be your friend. And the reason you want Claude to stop trying to be your friend is you need it to work with your working style. So for me, for example, I've given it a rule that's in the instructions and in the memory that says never, ever give me a brief to paste to Lovable and then continue asking me stuff. Yep. Always put the brief at the end. That's because I know that if it keeps asking me a load of waffle, I'll ignore the brief. I'll forget it's there. Or worse still, I'll download the brief, send it to Lovable, and then read the rest. And it will say in there somewhere, now, of course, you should only paste this brief into Lovable if you're sure you want everything to be pink. And it turns out I didn't want it all to be pink. I wanted it to be red, right? And then I've wasted credits and I've got to go back and do it again. So and you can edit this as you go along, right? So these are my working style notes. It's very straightforward. Who are you working with? I do not write code, but I do know what I'm talking about. Don't give me walls of text because I can't read them. Give me bullet points and so on and so forth. And so this is one of the things when people start to do work like this and then they go, oh God, actually it was too difficult. I gave up. It never did what I wanted. You need this. You need the memory. You need the instructions. And then just be clear with it as well. A while ago, I decided that what I really wanted to do is build a quick Xenon Connect API integration, right? So I said to Claude a few chats back, I said, I want to build a Xenon API connection. Now I'd spoken to Xenon and I'd got the API docs and I said, here you go, Claude, here's the API docs. How do I do it? And it then gave me all the reasoning and it was like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? What do I want to do? And then it asked me a question of what I wanted to do first and I told it, and then it built out from there. Now that helped me focus on the order in which I wanted to do things, because if I had to simply go off and read Xenon's API documents and then work out which order I needed to do things, that I would never do it. I would have given up. This is one of the primary uses of AI because it can go and learn and it can work out. You can tell it, work out for me what order I should do things in. Should I do this first or should I do this first? Is what I'm trying to achieve achievable? Tell it to be honest. It will be honest. It might occasionally lead you down a bit of a garden path. That's fine. That happens. It's still less time than you learning all this new stuff by yourself.
100%. And I think the best way I would like give people a way to just trial this, right? Because all of this, we should really start with, this is a solution we're talking about. It's called Lovable, right? If I just quickly give you a bit of a share screen of what Lovable looks like, that sort of thing, just to give you a bit of a bit of a insight into what we're talking about, right? So this here on the screen here is Lovable. left-hand side is very much like any other chat box you've ever seen in your life, right? It's on the left-hand side, you're talking with it, etc., etc. And on the right is a live demo of that particular thing that website you're building. And there's a fancy little publish button so that you can publish it to be an actual website living on the internet for you to interact with, right? Now, that bit that Tim was talking about there, so important, because you could just use Lovable and you could just put a prompt in here. You could say, build me, here's the an interactive version of our of our Top Trump game, right? And I highly recommend find a little project like this where it's not going to break, you can't break this. Nothing's going to go right or wrong. You're just having to play, right? You're just playing with the tools to see how comfortable you are with it. So try and build yourself a little game or a little something, right? Something interactive that you can go with. So I chose to build the interactive asset accounting game, and I could have just wrote a one thing. In fact, I think I might have done this at the very beginning where I just wrote my own a prompt and just sent it off, and yeah, it came out with an okay solution, and it seemed okay, it seemed fine. But if you take Tim's advice and you go into Claude, we can have a back and forwards conversation with Claude, and you can start asking, and it will ask you questions, right, Tim? It ask you, don't you think you should consider this, and don't you think you should consider that? And it's kind of going back and forth and everything else. And like Tim showed you, once you've got that set up in a project that you're going to make it exactly how it is, you put the information here. But then don't stop there. Take a screenshot of maybe there's a problem missing or something not quite right or something like that. Go back to Claude and say, whoa, this isn't working, or I press this button, it doesn't seem to work. Claude will then figure that bit out for you, figure out the answers, figure out the questions, and push it straight through. I think it was that bit for me, Tim, when you kind of really hammered home the idea that, well, let's use Claude independently and let that be the prompt builder for you that changed the game for me in terms of building this.
Because if you just do things, and actually the lady bookkeeper says, I made my own practice management platform with Lovable, not nearly as complex as Engage With A. And that's absolutely fantastic to hear. And I think that the difference between doing it just in Lovable and doing it in Lovable and Claude is, if Lovable gets in all of these AI tools, all of these vibe coding tools, they have a tendency sometimes to get themselves in a bit of a loop and think that they've done a good job when they haven't. Sometimes, not all the time, sometimes.
Yeah.
And it then depends on you trying to pick that apart and work out what it's done. Whereas if I know that Lovable has actually misunderstood, it's done something weird, I can be in Claude and say, right, here's the outcome that I'm getting. Ask Lovable why it's doing that. Probe it, get the source, tell it not to make any changes, find out what it's doing. Claude will then build a prompt for Lovable that's a diagnosis prompt. It will find out what's gone wrong and it will fix it. I had an example where I was doing some stuff with contacts, and it was misunderstanding the concept of an external contact versus an external linked individual. So what I mean by that is an external contact is like, okay, Tracy, who's the credit controller at the phone company, versus a linked external contact being somebody who does work for one of your clients but is not actually an employee or a director or anything like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'd explained it badly. Now in Lovable, to fix what I'd done in Lovable would have taken 5 or 6 prompts, I guarantee it, because I've been there before. With Claude, I was able to say, and I said to Claude, I'm not explaining myself clearly. And I did a voice note to Claude instead. And I rambled for about 10 minutes on what I meant. And it thought, and it summarized it. And it said, I think what you mean is, this is type A, this is type B, this is type C. It got it right first time. Sometimes it's second time. And that made it a lot easier. And that kind of brings us on, interestingly, to the cost of this in a way, because doing that cost me, in terms of money, way less than trying to unpick it in Lovable. I spent, 35p fixing that instead of £4.
Yeah.
And that's important, right?
And that's where the strength of Claude really is, because it already kind of knows what the problems are going to be, and it asks you those questions beforehand. It's obviously learned from other people doing it before, right? And using it as a Lovable prompt generator. And asking those questions for you. And yeah, it works really well. And back on money though, we're already seeing a return on investment for us because we were spending so much time using other softwares that was never really made for it. And we were like doing a round shape into a square hole scenario where, the work papers we were using before were okay, but they only took it so far. And full disclosure, I'm happy to throw them under the bus. It was QuickBooks' work papers, what we were using before this, right? And we were like, look, yeah, it's not perfect, but it's the best working paper solution I can find at the moment. But the team were always getting frustrated because it didn't quite work. And then they've done this update where they put things in a different place. And when you downloaded it, it wasn't quite right. And we're having to fix the download and we're having to put these. And it was our work papers with an asterisk, right? And then this asterisk was costing us money, time, resources, whatever you want to put into it. And we were also trying to make it fit for Zero clients and Sage clients and free agent clients. We were trying to build it all in, and we were just using it, but we were kind of settling on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And already the time I've spent building this out, getting this out, the training I've done to the team, the buying in of it and everything else that's come with it, we're already at a point where we've definitely 100% got a return on investment now, right? And that's 2 weeks after we properly launched it. Like, if you do the maths and do the time and do everything else, yeah, there's a upfront cost for the Lovable cost. There's an upfront cost for my time developing it. There's upfront cost for the, Claude and everything else. But I guarantee I've already built that up because the team aren't having to, compromise doing this, compromise doing that. And they're already coming back to me going, I really like this working papers because it does this, this, and this, but why am I pressing this button to get to this bit? And why am I pressing this button to it? So we're making these incremental updates on their behalf, which is just going to save X amount of time, right? So yeah, highly recommend it.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how responsive and how good. And we're super lucky, right? Because of the sort of circles that we move within, we're super lucky that we've got close relationships with the owners, the directors, the leaders of some pieces of software that we use on a regular basis, where if we make a suggestion and they think it's worthwhile, they'll do it, they'll build it, they'll get it in. But it won't be that fast because they're building real software. It impacts their other customers and clients as well, okay? And some of the things that we want are just going to be daft. Like, a lot of software comes in light mode or dark mode, right? I want something sort of in the middle of that. So I've got dusk mode, right? I wouldn't expect Engager or Xenon or anyone to build me dusk mode. That's ridiculous. That's just me going, oh, I really like the dark mode, but it's a bit too dark. I'm not that much of an emo. I want a sort of twilighty version, right? No one else is going to build that, but I can, because all I have to do is say to Claude, right, we've built this with a light mode and a dark mode, but I kind of want an in-between. And then it went through and it asked me, and it was like, okay, I'm going to show you 4 shades of black. Which one is it that you want to use as the base color of this? I was like, the second one's good. Right, brilliant. That's what we're going to build on. And that's the sort of thing. And that's just a silly example, but a real one that I went through. When it's something functional, when someone's like, do you know, that'd be better, Aaron, if that button was huge so I can't miss it. You can log in and go, make the submit button enormous. Make the submit button fill the entire width of the screen. That's what my team want. That's what I want to see. And it will happen without breaking anything for anyone else, without affecting anyone's workflows, without suddenly logging in and finding out, as we did a few weeks ago, that certain buttons in a piece of software used to be round and now they're square. None of that. And that's why it makes, and cost-wise, again, it costs you a few pennies. And you do have to really understand the cost of this and not spend thousands and thousands of pounds on it. And obviously, depending on your jurisdiction, maybe it can be capitalized, maybe it can't. Maybe it's R&D, maybe it's not. But I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole minefield. But I think what I wanted to just relatively quickly show for this week was, because this is live now and I've done it, we onboard a lot of employees for payroll. We run payroll for many hundreds of people per month. Most of them are weekly. There, you know, we've got 400 or 500 weekly, another 400 or 500 monthly. It's a lot. And a lot of these hospitality businesses that have part-timers, they have casual staff, they have people that turn up and do 3 shifts and never come back. And a lot of these need onboarding. And we've always done this through a selection of forms, and we have a workflow and we follow it, and we get this and we verify it, and then we, you know, set them up on the payroll system, set them up on whichever HR system, whatever it is. And I was thinking about how we can streamline that. And at the same time, I was, you know, becoming absolute besties with Content Snare.
Yeah.
Now, Content Snare has API access. You can ask for it. You give them a brief outline of what you're trying to do. They're going to give you the API access. So I thought, well, I don't want to risk taking people's payroll information, people's social security numbers, people's bank details. I don't want to risk collecting that via any methodology that is not secure and data protection compliant. Okay. We have a double data protection requirement here because we're in Guernsey, but we also process UK payrolls. We're going to need to comply with UK GDPR and with the Guernsey data protection law, which is very similar. In fact, it's almost word for word the same, but there are some nuances, some differences. So I was able to speak to Content Snare and make sure that we're fully compliant, review their policies, review our privacy policy and all our data protection, and make sure that was done. And I just wanted to highlight that you need to do that, because it is still your responsibility. You can't go and blame Claude or Lovable if it turns out that you've caused a data breach. That's going to be on you. But I've spent the time on it. I've done the research on it. I've spoken to external parties who have verified that for me, and I've made sure it's secure enough. Okay. Well, more than secure enough, very secure. So what I then did is I said, okay, Claude, we're building a payroll portal. Okay. And I said, here's our current payroll portal, and here's what I want to achieve. And here's the workflow that I want to follow. And what it came up with initially was our lovely payroll portal. Okay. And obviously we've made it very pretty, and it's very sort of, you know, TCS branded usual aesthetic. Okay. The UK one's not quite live yet, so don't try and make me click that, because I'm not gonna. But this is live and working now. Okay. Now, we've always had payroll pages on our website so that we don't have to answer the same questions again and again. So first I incorporated that, and I said, right, employee information, you know, what do I need to do if I'm a new starter? What if I'm a student? How do I get a direction notice? What do I do about tax and social security? What do I do about population management? These are quite Guernsey specific, but that's why I needed to do this, because there is no onboarding system that already exists for Guernsey payroll, right? So that's why I had to make sure all these questions, they are literally frequently asked questions. So then I thought, what's the best way of doing this? So I created a sign up workflow, and once they sign up, it's gonna send them. Now I'm already logged in. I've started I can start my new starter form here, and I can say, well, it's me. I'm going to put load numbers.
This is Content Snare that's like powering this, right?
Yeah, exactly. So this at the moment is just what I've built, but I'm gonna create my sort of new starter account, and then what that's going to do, and you won't see this, it's going to happen in the background, is it's going to send me a magic link to a Content Snare request. Okay, nice. And once it's in Content Snare, I've got it. I can use it as a to-do list. I don't know, people who don't know Content Snare, check it out. The reason I love it so much is they don't have to finish the form all in one go. It auto saves as they go along, and you can pre-fill and you can see what they've done so far and see how far along they are with it. Okay. But then once that's all done, I get my Content Snare form request. It's secure. I submit all my information, and it's then going to send me, in my sort of practice management side of things, a notification. Now, here's one me and Zoe prepared earlier. Obviously, none of this is real information. So just to make sure we're all aware of that, this is, you know, 11111. I've been able to pull by hitting fetch answers. It's pulled the information that Zoe's given me. Okay. I also did some very specific names, because I said, okay, I want first and last name, but in Content Snare, I'm only going to put their full legal name. Why? Because we have a lot of non-Western employees whose names are formatted differently, and it might not be obvious what we call a first and last name isn't going to match. Okay. So we let them put whatever they want, and then we guess, but then I can overwrite it if I need to. Okay. And I hit fetch answers. And because I've got that API connection, which was very simple and took honestly 20 minutes, that contents now request has now pulled all its information through to this employee record. I can then verify that. And the way I've chosen to verify that in this workflow is I said, okay, we've just built an integration into contents now. What else can we do? So I built a template in contents there for the employer to verify it. So once I've checked it and made sure it's not nonsense, I check that they've chosen the right employer, and I hit, at the moment it says send again, this is one we did earlier, but it's giving me the audit trail here. It's giving me the request ID, where I've generated a contents now request to the employer that says, hey, Zoe says she's coming to work for you. When did she start? How much are you paying her?
Yep.
Is she hourly or salary? Is she 0 hours? Does she need to be enrolled in the pension scheme, or is it deferred? Do you want us to issue your template contract on behalf of her? Those are spec'd per the employer. So for each employer that I create, they'll have their own template if they're different from everybody else. But all of that whole workflow, which is now working and which we've been using this week, in total took about 3 hours.
Yeah.
3 hours on a Sunday afternoon, with a little bit of frustration and a little bit of annoyance. The first workflow that I tried to build for this, I realized after an hour that I was going down the wrong direction, and I rolled it back and I started again because I realized I had a better idea. But the whole point of this is that I've got that how I want it, right? I can then create an employee record for this person, and I can do the things, I can track the things I want to track instead of the things that the HR software that you buy off the shelf wants to track.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've got things on here that we have a lot of client employees who need a weekly deduction for their rent because they live in a staff house, right? How much is that rent? How much are their bills? When does it start and end, right? I am saying that I don't know Zoe's population management reference, so I can make myself a note of that. And then when I get it, I can set it. And if she's called up and said that it's a temporary permit, then I can say, okay, I know that's only valid till the 31st of December, right? So then I can make myself a notification that on the 31st of December, I'll have to see it. Now, that's not something that exists in any commercial software because it's specific to what I want, right? And that is the real sort of, what's the right word? It's the real like impetus behind this, is that this can be spec'd custom to you. Do I think that everyone should go off and start building all their own tools for absolutely everything? No, absolutely not.
No.
Plenty of the tools that we use day to day are absolutely fine, right? We use Sage on a day-to-day basis. Are there things that are annoying in Sage? Yeah, same as every other software. Am I going to build my own version of Sage? Absolutely not, right? I use Silverfin to do all our year-end accounts. Are there things that irritate me intensely in Silverfin? Yes, there are, especially when it decides that I've made a mistake that I know I haven't made. Another story. But am I going to try and build my own version of it? No, God, no. It's far too complex. I'll make too many mistakes and it'll be a disaster. But when I need a basic document management system that integrates with SharePoint and allows me to say it belongs to this client, this is the external contact, and this is the type of document, yeah, I can just build that myself now, because I don't need to go and spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds on a document management system, because I've just built my. Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I'm getting at? 100%. I'm sort of rambling here now, and I'm going to shut up. But that's just a quick example of something that I built in less than just under 3 hours, that will, in the next, and I'll report back on the next episode, it is going to save us time. It's not, it might save us time, it will. Because the final bit of this that I'm building this week is that I can batch up all those new starters and export them to a CSV file in the exact right format to import into the payroll system. So what have I eliminated? Zoe, Ryan, the payroll team are no longer manually keying in new starter information. They're not typing anything anymore.
And the scope of how far you can take this is only limited to your imagination, right? So depending on what payroll software you use, maybe they've got an API and maybe you could one day just take it straight in. Like, that's the sort of thing that it starts to generate, doesn't it? And the point that I'm trying to make with like just building a game or something is just start on something that is a little bit fun, a little bit of, just a little bit of a creativity spark in there. And that's where this starts from. And I promise you it builds from there. The work papers for me was like my big project, and I'm really happy with it. And again, it's done, but it's not finished, and it won't be finished for a long time because I'm getting feedback and everyone's coming in and everyone's giving me the feedback, and we're changing things. And for example, now we've now made it so that we put all of our categories down for our accounts production software, so that when we export it out, it matches everything up and the numbers are done. Like, I didn't think of that. There was one of the team members like, well, why are we then just putting it in and doing it there? I was like, great point, right? Like, and that's great. But then you start thinking of other stuff. Like, we were talking the other day, weren't we, about capacity planning. Capacity planning is a solution that, I don't care what practice management software in the world or task management software in the world, they might make a good one, they might make one, but finding it that's going to be right for your practice, it's going to be really difficult. Like, I would imagine every capacity planner in the world, or every firm in the world, will have a different metric for what their capacity planning is going to be around, right? We've got our metrics, we're happy with our metrics. To build that capacity planner, or to expect a practice management solution to build it for us, would be kind of ludicrous, because I'm not 100% sure they know, or that they would be able to even get the bits that we need to put it all into place.
Because every practice is so different, and because we've all got other stuff happening, right? So if I'm looking at capacity planning, which I am, but if I'm looking at capacity planning for certain members of the team, I need to think about, okay, how much time do they spend out of the office each day doing banking? That's not something that every practice does. Some do. That's not something everyone does. How do I plan for scanning paperwork, right? We have a lot of paper invoices still, because we deal with hospitality and they primarily get delivery notes and invoices on paper, right? How do I deal with that? Like, that's not in any capacity planning tool. It's like, oh, cool, yeah, just put it down to admin. It's like, but it's not admin, it's client work. They're spending 4 minutes scanning for client A and then 8 minutes scanning for client B. If I want to take on another 10 clients that are all similar to that, does that person have the capacity to do 10 more clients worth of scanning every day? Maybe not. Does someone else have the capacity? That's not something I'm ever going to have in a capacity planning piece. So it doesn't matter how much I spend with them. Everyone's building.
Yeah. And we used to use Excel, and I love Excel, right? So vertical lookups, if statements, index matching, all of it. Visual basics. I will spend hours upon hours upon hours building a spreadsheet. I have done in the past for capacity planning, like, and it's fine, but it's just me that can interpret it. It's just me that can update it. It's just me that can actually get the most out. And guess what happens when it's just relying on me? It gets left. And before we know it, we're in this big hole, and that capacity planning piece of work that I keep putting off, because I know it's going to take X amount of time to get all the information back into place, or whatever the reason is going to be, meant that I actually caused myself an issue because I haven't been proactive in capacity. I'm just trying to backfill, and we all know what happens when we do that, right? But we built this capacity planning tool with two very distinct point of views in mind. First one, the admin team or the management team, myself, the wife, and everything else, we get to see all the really sensitive numbers in the background, right? And we get to play around with it, and we get to figure it out. And it updates beautifully from our practice management solution. It updates beautifully from our other bits that we've got, and it collates everything, and we've got that tool at our fingertips. But crucially for us, we also have a team member facing version, so they can see it. So, we're not doing this in a vacuum anymore. Capacity planning used to be me in a darkened room one day just going, I think I've got this right, but seems about right to me, right? Like, now there's ownership, and people can see what their capacity budget is, and they can argue it with us or whatever they need to do, and they can, and we can build on that, and we can take their feedback and go, well, actually, we've probably missed this step, like you were saying there about people going to the bank or whatever. Maybe we've got the equivalent that we've just not taken ever into consideration in our bank, and now it's something that we've got to go and do. So there's certain software at certain scenarios, certain situations, certain solutions where no one's going to be able to build it for you, unfortunately.
No. And that's exactly where this comes in. And the final thing I'd say on that point for You know, because actually we've rambled on for almost an hour now, which is, you know, typical, really, isn't it? For a quick podcast. But what I would say is that if you, you know, if you're interested in this and you want to give it a go, start with a problem that you have that's a smallish problem.
Yeah.
Don't start with your biggest problem, because if you start with your biggest problem and you can't fix it, it'll be bloody awful, right? The two problems that I started with were, I really hate doing these flat files, and I really need a place for us to store all the links to external sites that we use all the time in a sensible fashion, right? And that was the stub of this, that this is what grew into this. When I started doing integrations, the first one was, I want a way to post a year's worth of prepayments in one go without me having to post 12 separate journals. Help me, right? And it did. Those are problems where if I'd failed to do that and I had to keep posting prepayments the way we were doing it before, no big deal, right? Not a real problem, just a nice to have. Save me, you know, an hour every quarter or whatever, but not a disaster if it went wrong. If you try and build something that's gonna revolutionize your practice and you get it wrong, you're going to just feel sad. So don't set yourself up for failure. Start with a simple problem and get more and more complex as you go.
Yeah. And share that story, right? Because between me and you, like WhatsApp messages and stuff, we've both been like, you know what I mean? Like, you just need that conversation spark and everything else that goes with it. So yeah, hopefully that's been useful to everyone, because we are vastly running out of time. And and let us know, like, going forward, do you want it to be more practical? Do you want us to show you the bits that we brought into play and all that sort of stuff? Let us know. Marcus says, this has been great, guys. Enjoyed listening to this. Well, thank you very much, Marcus. I mean, he's definitely one who's going to be seeing a lot of enhancements in his new role, right? Because that product is changing on a regular basis. So
daily, I heard it's just to improve constantly.
I tell you what, we need what we need Marcus to tell us one day is, how do you keep on top of all these updates? Because I now kind of feel sorry for people. Like, I keep releasing, I've just tweaked this or tweet that on our working papers or whatever it's going to be, right? And I'm like, well, I need to tell everyone that, so I'll Teams them and send it out to them. And then it's like, you know what? Like, there's got to be a better way to do it. So what have I built now? A release schedule directly in the work papers. And I'm like, you know what?
I feel sorry for anyone who actually does develop commercial software at this sort of pace, because we've all seen that, I'm trying to do this in this software, but when I searched the user guide, it sent me to a menu that no longer exists. And the user guide only came out 3 weeks ago. No, it's, you know, section 107. And I feel terrible for people that have to keep on top of that, because that must be, they've probably got another tool they built with Claude to keep them on top of that, right?
Yeah, you need a whole team of just customer success that keeps on top of it. And no, I get it. Lady Bookkeeper says, thank you very much, guys. See you at Accountex North. We certainly will. Looking forward to Accountex North. Make sure you come to the booth. Make sure you come and get yourself some of the new, and I won't show who it is, but we have some brand new Top Trumps cards.
OMG, that's always exciting.
Brand new, first edition. They've come through. Full disclosure, then, I won't tell you who this one is. Producer Lizzie's final job, or for one of her final things that she did before she left, I think she got my message a little bit thinking. So this silver shiny that we have here, I think we got 50 of this one person. So we might need to get rid of that pronto. Yeah. Oh, great point there, Marcus. I have found, because you know the new Claude can now record and does a kind of SOP creation for you, etc., and goes through there. One of my favorite use cases is to let it go, let it listen to what you're doing, and you tell it what it's not doing right in the product that you're building in there, and then just say, any idea how to fix this? And it will then generate a prompt, and off to the races it goes. Right then, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for commenting. Thank you very much for everything else. Tim, what have you got coming up? Anything you want to plug away?
I've nothing to plug. I've done this instead of going to the West show. You've been to the West show.
Is it West show now?
West show today, and West is best. So I've missed out on Uncanny Vegetables and a chef hamburger, but North show next week, so that's okay. So I'm going to go home, feed the cats, and collapse into a heap on the floor, ready to do the same whole entire day again tomorrow. How about you?
So it can't have been a year then since we came over.
Oh, clearly it is. And
No.
mind-boggling, isn't it?
That does not make any sense at all. Wow. Whew. We're on full Accountex North mode. We're looking forward to it, as is the Lady Bookkeeper as well. So yeah, it should be good. We're getting stuff in the background sorted. Producer Kelly is absolutely flying in filling those slots. We've already got a full schedule of Pit Stop podcasts. So we're looking forward to it.
Including the 100th.
I can't tell you who that is yet, because we're debating internally if we made a number. But yes, the 100th is there. Problem is, one of the options could be one of my mortal enemies, and I don't feel like that's right. I'll leave you all in the comment section to figure out who that is. Well, thank
you, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for interacting. Thank you for everything else, and we'll see you in the next episode. It's a bye from me.
And me. Bye-bye.
Bye.